10 facts about Black Sabbath. The original name for Black Sabbath was Earth, but after seeing a horror movie with the exact same name and Tony Iommi liking the name Black Sabbath, they pitched that to be their band name, and from there on, they were known as Black Sabbath. The sound that Black Sabbath produced was very distinct and very unique for their time, and it was oftentimes attributed to their native homeland of Birmingham, England. Industrial factories everywhere in Birmingham at that time, loud noises everywhere, grit and grime. Ozzy at one point started working in one of the factories. They oftentimes looked at that as probably the biggest reasoning for why they sounded the way they did as a band. This is more of an opinion rather than a fact, but I feel like it's kind of like a wide-known opinion that's more so a fact these days. When you ask any band like Metallica, Pantera, Slayer, who are the pioneers of heavy metal, it's probably going to be Black Sabbath 9 times out of 10. Some folks might say Deep Purple. Some folks might say Led Zeppelin, even though they were a little bit too bluesy for it. To me and to a lot of folks, like I said, 9 out of 10 times, you're going to get the same answer. Black Sabbath is looked at as the pioneers of heavy metal. Tony Iommi lost the tips of 2 of his fingers in a factory accident, but he was able to make it work still playing the guitar with doing 2 things, using plastic prosthetics at the end of his fingertips and tuning down the strings of his guitar. Ozzy Osbourne left Black Sabbath in 1979 due to substance abuse issues, and for a short while, Ronnie James Dio replaced him in Black Sabbath and had a lot of good success, including the big album, Heaven and Hell. Self-titled debut album of Black Sabbath released on Friday the 13th, February 13th, 1970. Perhaps the biggest song Black Sabbath wrote was Paranoid, perhaps the biggest song in heavy metal history, but it was actually written in under 30 minutes. They had to fill up some time on an album, and they had to quickly get something together, and thus Paranoid was born. Black Sabbath was probably sued more than your favorite band. They were taken to court many a times for allegedly hiding subliminal messages, for unaliving yourself during their songs. Nothing really came of the suits, but it did spark conversation about censorship in music from there on out. Don't tell Gene Simmons this one, but Ronnie James Dio, especially during his time in Black Sabbath, was oftentimes looked at as the guy that helped popularize the devil horns in music, especially rock music, but Ronnie had always said he merely borrowed the gesture from his grandma. Final Black Sabbath show happened in Birmingham, England on July 5th, 2025, with all 4 original members there, Ozzy Osbourne, Geezer Butler, Tony Iommi, and Bill Ward, and 17 days later, the legendary Ozzy Osbourne passed away.